All right, good morning. It's a beautiful day here in Bluefield, and welcome to the class. I know that marketing is the number one requested topic that we have. So we appreciate the ones that's joining us by Zoom, and then there's others that couldn't be here today that will be watching the video. And as always, I usually do an introduction, and I'm Jim Spencer. I'm the Executive Director for the Bluefield, West Virginia Economic Development Authority, and I've announced my retirement. So this will be my last introduction for a class. And so over the years, we've tried to provide training material that helps our small business and entrepreneurs, and I'm sure that the folks here will continue to do that. So I'm very pleased to introduce Ms. Roxy. She is a subject matter expert in the marketing website, and I know she's going to cover a couple of topics today. She works with the West Virginia Small Business Development Center, which is one of our partners, so we appreciate that relationship. And again, we want to provide meaningful content. So if you watch this and there's a topic that you would like to have, or you'd like for Ms. Roxy to cover, please let us know. You can drop it in the chat. And we've talked a little bit about her doing other classes and things like that. So we appreciate her being here this morning. So we'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the introduction. My name is Roxy Turner. I've got some slides a little bit about, that way you know a little bit about me, but I've been a subject matter expert with the Small Business Development Center for about 6-7 years now. So quite a little while. My forte is in trainings, especially when it comes to digital marketing. And I look forward to this being one of a many different series as well. So let's go ahead and get started on some of these screens. So just if you can, and in fact, some of the people that's online, if you can tell me a little bit about yourselves. So for instance, yourself, what's your name? Mike. And Mike, do you have a business, small business? Okay. Well, great. It's going to come in handy, I'm sure, especially this day and age as well. But welcome, Mike. And then Pete, online, is there anyone that wants to tell me a little bit about their businesses? If they do, just let me know. And hopefully they can hear me too. Okay. Okay. Well, and anyone else that wants to tell me about their business, it'd be nice to learn a little bit more. So this is my background. I actually grew up in a place called Coventry in England, went to school there, came here as a Marshall University student, exchange student, quite a few years ago. I was a public speaking teacher and tutored mathematics. That was my background. Was hired, actually worked for the state legislature for a few years under Bob Kiss, who was the speaker at that time. And then was hired by a company called Teradon Communications, which is a web development company. And so worked with them for a few years. So I was there 12, 15 years with experience there. Then I became director of marketing recruitment for Marshall University and I actually did quite a bit of overseas travel. So about 50 countries in a couple of years. Sometimes I was in 5 different countries in 10 days. So it was pretty, like, it looks from the outside glamorous, but it was pretty tiring more than anything else. So I actually incorporate both to some extent, degree sets. I also worked at West Virginia State. I was their VP there. And then from there on, I really became my own company and I work part-time for the Small Business Development Center. So these are some of the clients that I've worked for as well. Many of them from JCPenney to Kellogg's. Quest Communications was another, Remax. And so some of them Whirlpool, I still work with, but I was corporate trainer for many of these organizations that you see here as well. And of course, I work Small Business Development Center, economic development centers as well, and then some of the different universities that I work with and represent as well. How I actually initially got started, which this is kind of a funny screen, is when in the 2010s, when blogging became a thing. I was in the web development side for a long time, but we always outsourced traffic. We always outsourced. People would come to me, and I was in between the client and the programmers. With my background being mathematics, I could understand a lot of code. And so I was sort of the translator between the client and the programmer. And I would teach them how to update and market their website. But nobody really taught us how to get traffic. People would say, well, we built this website. It's a beautiful website. We spent tens of thousands of dollars. How do you actually get traffic to it? And we used to always outsource that, especially to Silicon Valley, especially to California. It cost a lot of our clients a lot of money, thousands of dollars that they would spend. And when I actually had my children became part-time, it was a way for me to start learning. And I started a blog. So at that time, Will and Kate were getting married back in 2011. I had a good friend of mine said, no one's going to be interested in that rocks. Well, they were, because millions logged in. And I remember getting 5,000 followers on the one day that I actually launched that site. And by the end of, I would say about 6 months, I had over 300,000 fans and became a professional blogger. It actually overtook my salary, overtook my full-time salary. And it was something that I was able to do for a few years. But with them being so much in the public eye, and it was an experiment for me, it was something that when I took the position where I traveled overseas, I knew the Wi-Fi support wasn't there all the time. So that's when I kind of gave it up. But I wanted to make sure too that it wasn't a fluke. So I started a site also called M&M Nation, and within 4 months had about 70,000 fans. So I knew that what I was doing to get traffic to my sites was working. It wasn't just happenstance. And but I will say this to you: it is a daily thing to be a blogger or in that influential or being an influencer and so on. It's an absolute daily thing. I think I went from writing a blog a day, which one blog it would take me hours, to 4 or 5 different blogs. It didn't take me as long because I knew what to write for. And I also got to the stage where I thought they were interested in Will and Kate. They weren't interested in Will and Kate. They were interested in what Kate was wearing. So it became more of a fashion site than I thought it would be. And then, of course, you go where your fans are reading the most. But that's how I got my start into learning about traffic and how to get traffic to the site. That's when I started my own company as well. This is us in Shanghai. So Mars actually stands for Matt, Alia, Roxy, and Zach, my own personal. And this is it's a picture taken in 2019 when we were in Shanghai. But this is the type of items that I provide, but I also provide that as a service for SBDC or small business as well. So you may have come across this screen. Harold, you might know of it too. But it's actually the canvas or the business plan canvas. It's, remember we all want to, when we start our businesses, you start writing the introduction and then what's the business about and then how you're going to get funding and what you hope to provide and the different skills that you have and so on. I really like the business plan canvas because it's just that one sheet that you can put up on the board and write about what you want to do and how you want to start your small business. And I like it because it's very visual. So, and then keep that in mind too when it comes to digital marketing as well. So when it comes to selling your business, or at least your company and your small business, you have to remember what are some of the unique selling points about you, about what you can provide. One of the biggest things and the biggest reasons I got that many fans, for instance, when I was blogging, yes, I didn't know anything about them. I wasn't able to go up to Kate and said, hey, what's your day going like? A lot of mine came, of course, from the tabloids, and then I just wrote opinion pieces on those, which is what your blog is about. But what became very unique and why I got that many fans is the consistency. I kept it consistent. I started writing, like I said, they were more interested in our clothes. So I had to learn a little bit more about fashion, what she actually purchased, and when and for how much, and if you had something that was affordable for the regular person. But also unique selling points becomes, what is it about you? Why are you the authority of that? Why should people trust you when it comes to even your floral shop, even your AI, for example? Why are people going to trust you? And that's what you have to remember when it comes to marketing your website. It's that you come across, and just like my blog sites, I was the authority on them. So my site got to the stage where it was number one. Anytime anyone searched for Will and Kate, it was always, that was what came up first. I also made it where I regularly blogged, which means 4 to 10 articles a day. It didn't matter what it was. So it was something that's consistent. Even my sister actually is an influencer. She's a model and actress in England. And one of the ways that she started 3 or 4 years ago when she wanted to do her own thing, and left the retail side, was started her her Instagram and her Facebook page. And she's like, well, no one comes to it. Yes, no one comes to it, but you have to do it every day. Even if you get one like, even if you get, in time, you'll get a lot more, but you have to keep doing it. You have to love what you do. You have to be passionate about what you do, and you have to continue. And to this day, that's her full-time position now, and she's doing very well. So it's the same. It takes a lot of dedication. It's a lot of passion, but you have to know what it is about your business that you're actually selling. So why is it the customers buy online? Most of the time they buy because 24/7, you can buy anytime. Even if you can't go to sleep one day, it's 3 a.m, you could make a purchase, right? Not necessarily the same by going into a store. So it saves money, it saves time, because you can do it. Most of the time they offer free shipping as well. You get a lot more buyers that way if you've got your shipping costs already in there, and in terms of availability as well. And by the way, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask anytime. Not so much actually. So time of day, not as much. I know, I mean, even with my blogs, it was more the weekends that people preferred them. Does that make, but so it's more days than it is time of day, as to when. But it depends. Like, I know, like for instance, there's a lot of my friends that are farmers, and they have their different blog sites as well. For them, it is more important on the specific time of day, because people read their blogs early in the morning versus, and then they're on the farm the rest of the day. So I think it depends on the subject more so, than anything. But for me, like I said, I had to make this thing, it was 7 days a week. And then I got to the stage where a blog or one article may have been this long. And then after that, I realized that most people being interested in what Kate wore, my blogs became a lot shorter. And I could churn out within an hour, I could churn out 5 or 7 blogs versus that one that used to take me hours to do. Oh, yes, just if there's a specific time of day that was better to blog or at least post, than others. And I think it depends on the subject matter more than anything. But for the most part, as long as you just you're consistent with having something out that same, and maybe the same time every day works better, as well, so that they can expect it. So one of the biggest reasons here, you can see, this is from Statista, that why customers buy is the navigation. So it's the search. It's easy to find the products. It's easy to find what you're looking for. The search works really well. Then you've got product rating. Then you've got the fact that you've got a fast, convenient checkout process, responsiveness. of the website as well, and that you've got good content and information when it comes to buying. And if you think about yourselves and why you buy, you pretty much buy for those same exact reasons for the most part as well. So online shopper demographics that you can see here, about 9 out of 10 of us never buy straight away. We have to see that product delivered or seen like several times, or somebody speaks of it. Even you may have even come across that with restaurants. They mention it the first time, you don't necessarily go, but then when somebody has gone that you know of, that you have some trust with and you like their taste in food, then you might give it a try. So it's that same philosophy as well. 75% of us shop online at least once a month. 60% of us, if not more now, think with Google. 50% of them as are mobile. And then you have a conversion rate between 1 to 3%. When you do ads, for example, I know a lot of people always turned off by, well, there's 100 people on your site and only one person has purchased. That's actually a pretty common statistic. It's not normal for 10 people to buy or 10% to buy out of the 100 that visit. It is extremely common for less than 1% to buy. It's one of those things. And you've got to remember the web is also a saturated market. There's so much that you can buy from. So a 1 to 3% conversion rate is normal. So now you can tell like when you are selling, how many people, how many thousands you actually need to see your product in order to have good purchases and good purchases made as well. But it's common and very common, more so than what people realize. So why is it the websites fail? They fail because it's not intuitive. If you go to a website, and a lot of people leave straight away after getting to a website. Why? Because once you get to that website, if you don't know what they do, you'll leave and go to another one. It's as simple as that. Transparency in the transaction. It doesn't have an investment that you should be putting into your website because, again, it's a mouthpiece for you. And it's a big mouthpiece because it's online. You have different marketing channels, so you don't just sell one way, you sell many different ways. So not only do you have your website, you may have a LinkedIn page for your services that you offer. You may also have a Google business profile. You may also have different social media channels that you sell through. So it's a lot of that as well. The social media isn't there, so you don't know what the ratings are. And then sometimes it's also bad customer service as well. So why is it the customers leave? A lot of the time, shipping costs are too much. Discount codes don't work. Order takes forever as well. So these are a lot of the reasons why people leave your site, and those extra costs that they didn't have in there. Yep. It's very important to actually have the price on the site. So just like if you think about the really like most popular websites, which is like the Walmart, the Target, the Amazons, and so on, the pricing is right there as soon as you get there, right? So, and that's most people leave. Even when it comes to services that you provide, if you cannot tell, like, if for instance, and this is difficult, but like sometimes you go to a website and you're like, wow, I'm sure their services are expensive or what they offer are expensive. If you don't give people at least like a starting point to say we start off like a 1 hour consultation is $250 or 1 hour consultation, like give them a starting point. That way they have an idea and they know. It's always good to have that. Go ahead. Not a minimum, and I'll tell you why. I think when COVID took place back in 2020, And the question was basically if you needed a minimum in terms of products. If you look back at COVID, most people were selling just one item. Does that make sense? It's like it was a one item and everything was on one page. If you look at that, so no, there's no minimum. It's just have you detail that one product really well. So you've got not only the product, not only the price, the reviews are on there, some videos and testimonials, and then you've got the price. And if you buy now within 10 minutes, you'll get it for this discount. So it's that. So it's not a minimum. It's just that one product does really well, but you've sold it very well as well. So this is, like I said, some data, like this is just some data as to what the accounts can look like. But if you look at top websites in the US, I've got Amazon up there and I've got Walmart up there. Looking at it, don't they pretty much, if you swap the logos, they look the same. You just have to take remove the logos. It's not much different to Target site. It's not much different. And that's because they've worked. So just like Google has not changed Google in the 25 years that it's been around, if not longer than that. It's the white screen and it's Google in the middle, right? Their bread and butter stays the same. They may get flashy on the different seasons or if, St. Patrick's Day is coming, that type of thing. But everything stays the same. The web is no different. If something works, they've got the search at the top. You've got your main navigation along the top. You've got, and then some, smaller sites, of course, Amazon, not so much now, or Walmart, but contact information is at the top. Their social media stuff is at the top. Their shopping cart is at the top. All of their seasonal items, they change this every day because they go through what's popular and what's selling that day as well. So your site, so when you build your own sites and you are using a website to market, keep that in mind. It shouldn't look that much different to what you have right here for those sites. The other thing too to remember, so if you're selling something online, especially if it's product-based, use other means of selling it. So try and sell it via Amazon, try and sell it via eBay, try and sell it through Craigslist, through Etsy. So nothing stops you using those other means and then getting a little bit of an idea as to how much you can sell it for. You can make, another good thing too is it's a way to gauge if your audiences are going to be interested. So if you're just starting out in a business, you're not quite sure, and you have a product to sell, those are some of the means because the traffic is already there for those sites. For instance, with eBay, or like I said, with Amazon, you can see, so nothing stops you from selling those products on those sites first and also selling it on yours because this is the way to get reviews. Go ahead. Yep, that's right. The secrets are your key phrases, your keywords, the fact that you've, so the question is basically whether when you sell on Amazon, for example, whether you can use is there a secret? So there is, in terms of, you do need to use keywords that your customer uses to try and find you, for example. So it is good to and have as many different variations, for example, of that key phrase as you can on that site too. So it is important to do that as well. Another thing too is when you do have your, like on Amazon or on eBay, have friends and family go on there and order. Have friends and family write reviews. Have friends and family that you know of do the same, because that allows you to get some traction. So nothing's, like I said, stops you from doing that as well. And then these are some of the costs that you can see with selling on eBay. And a lot of the time, if you're not selling many products and they're not highly priced, you can sell them pretty affordably. eBay's selling costs are a lot less than Amazon's. Amazon's, you can also do FBA, which is fulfillment by Amazon. And then it costs more to actually shelve things. You have it on their shelves. You actually pay to have things on their shelves as well. If it doesn't move, you're going to pay quite a bit of a price. So before you join, so I always tell people, like, I worked with a company in Jackson County, and they're a nonprofit, and they basically worked with rags. So, and they would buy bales of rags, and not only were they rags, they were t-shirts. And a lot of the time you've got vintage t-shirts that actually hardly ever been worn. And so they were able to sell some of them $20, $30 a piece, even though they're buying these t-shirts for pennies. And one way that the best way to sell those was basically on eBay. And as soon as they started their shop, we made it public to all of their clients that they knew of, plus friends and family. And then as time went on, they started getting traction and got to the stage where it's about $5,000 to $10,000 a month that they were making just from that. So you can start small, but it's those key terms and key phrases and knowing what you're selling and knowing it well. But they were able to make, like I said, $20, $30 from bales that just cost pennies. Etsy is another great way. I actually have a good friend that works, he's a graphic designer in New York, and he six-figure income that he makes just from Etsy. And it's people's trash. He lives in New York. He goes by alleyways, different things like that in the mornings, collects them, people throwing them out. And he finds tables, he finds lots of different types of treasures that he sells actually for thousands of dollars. One of the biggest reasons he sells is because he photographs it really well. He can explain it, he describes it very well, and he photographs them so well, and has a little studio that he's put together to actually photograph those products. So you can actually do a lot with very little. So local SEO is also important. So if you have a business like a florist, for example, or anything, or a retail store is another one, make sure you have a local presence. And that means that you're on maps and that you have a Google business profile. So no matter what, before you even start having your website or building your website, you should always make sure that you're locally on maps and that you always have your Google business profile set up for as well. So, and then that way, anyone looking on their phone, anyone that's online, when you've typed in a Italian restaurant near me or Italian restaurant, something that's near you, if you've got that address, you're right there. Even if you're an accountant and you have anything downtown, for example, it's the same thing. So always those two are free. You don't need to pay for maps or for a Google business profile. You would determine, for instance, too, your service, whether you're a service-based business or a product-based business. Doesn't matter. On Google business profile, you can have either or, doesn't matter. So for instance, a plumber may not necessarily have a physical location or a presence, but he or she has a service area. And so make sure that's in your Google business profile. And then of course with products, again, I have people that I know of that make from home, different arts and crafts from home, and they do the same thing. You may not put your address down, but you can actually at least, and even so for a Google business profile, you always have to give an address because they have to confirm that you're a verified business. Once you're verified, you don't need to necessarily show your home address, especially if you're a plumber or somebody that works, a tax accountant or something like that. You may not necessarily have a presence. And then you can actually check a box that doesn't show where you live, but it shows the service area that you work in. This is an example of a Google business profile, one of mine, but you can see too I have my address on it just because it just makes it easier, especially people looking and searching in the area. But you can change your pictures. But make sure too, whenever you have your Google business profile, you've got your reviews showing pretty clearly, your hours of operations. Just remember too, if someone offers 24/7 service versus you're only offering 8 hours a day, the 24/7 will be above yours. So things like that are important. If they've got more reviews than you, that sometimes comes in important as well. If they post more often, if they're more interactive than you, again, so their business will show much more than yours. Yes. You can. Yes, you can. So I will say this though, if you so there was I think it was a florist shop that was in Hurricane, and the the shop actually was suspended, something like that, because they claimed that they would be open 8 till 6, for example. And I think she had to leave because there was some kind of an emergency. On the Google business profile, she never changed that or said that it was closed. Someone actually complained, went to the store, complained, and they took her profile down. And so it's not easy to get it back up. So keep that in mind as well. But yes, if you claim you're 24/7, it doesn't mean to say that at 2 o'clock in the morning you respond. It just means that you'll respond the very next day. So Google is the big, if anything, or gorilla, whatever you want to call it, in the room. That is, no matter what, you have to do what, like the others are DuckDuckGo, Bing, Yahoo, Brave, you know, and then remember there were so many others when at the beginning, Netscape, Firefox, there was just so many, but they all kind of went away. But Google really is what you're writing for the most part. And then maybe you know, make sure too that you're writing search engine friendly content. And I'll cover that too in more detail probably in the later half. Other ways to drive traffic to your site. They can come directly to your site. They can also come via email, and then of course via SEO presence as well. Another, people ask me sometimes too, it's like, well, I've got my website and nothing's working. I'm not able to get traffic straight away. Well, even my blog site, for example, I had to advertise. I couldn't just let it on, like, luckily I got a lot of those people because I launched that site on the day of their wedding. And I had probably about 15 to 20 blogs that I had written beforehand to actually dump on that day. So I uploaded it and then the site went live that day. But a blog site, just to give you an example, a blog site was, you know, most blog sites out there now are cheap. I mean, you can do one for free. At that time, you could do one for free. But I know it's not easy to maintain. It's not easy to, even people that have like a WordPress site or a Wix site, it's not easy to build those sites. If you're not like, at least have some graphic design skills, it's not easy to do or make those or build those sites. They take a long time to build. I have friends that, you know, in the coffee business, floral business, various things like that. It's taken them 2 to 3 years to get that site to a level that they like it. So sometimes when I say to you, it's an investment, I spent a couple of $1,000s when I put that blog site together. Yes, it was a time when it could have been free, but I had a good friend that's what he does. He built it for me, charged me a couple of $1,000, but at least that way it didn't take me 2 years before that site was ready. So it's an investment, and it truly is an investment. It may have just taken him days to put that site together, but I was ready to use it straight away. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, advertising. If you're not getting traffic, you may have to have the ability to get Facebook ads and set up Facebook ads and Google ads. Does anyone know what the difference is between Facebook ads and Google ads? There's a major difference between the two. Nope. Well, one's more for branding, and that's your Facebook, because it just goes into your reels and right, and you just look through it. You're not actively searching for something; it just picks it up, right? With Google Ads, you're actively searching for that item. So one's more for branding, and the other one is really more for product selling. Doesn't mean you couldn't use both, but that's mainly the difference between the two. Yes. Yes, it's going to drive it now. Yes, it's more geographic, and it's the same set of people that are already looking at your page. So Google is geographic because you can make it specific geographically, but it's new sets of people, and it's people that are actually actively searching for floral shop or flower shop. But within Facebook, you're not necessarily searching for that. You're having, if you have an interest in flowers, or you've done that, or you've done a Google search of it, Facebook picks up that, and then it will show you those ads because you've been searching for it. And I've spoken a little bit about Google Ads as well. So, and then you can build your website. So that's why I say you don't have to put all your eggs in one basket and just do a website and start off when, especially with your company, for example, you can have these other presences, like Google Maps, or like a Google business profile, like a Facebook page as well, like a LinkedIn page, Alignable, which is regional. So you can have these different presences to get your business off the ground. It doesn't have to be a website to get started. You can do that later. So link building, directories. This is another element that's important too. Not only are you bragging, for example, about your site and what you offer in terms of your products, you have to have others endorse you, right? And that's the reason people buy as well. And this is one way to get external links to you or referrals. And Google Business Profile is one, Jasmine, Alive, Yellow Pages, and there's so many others out there. These are all directories. So Google Business Profile is just one. There's a new one by Apple. I think it just came out in the past few months to a year, and it's called Apple Business Connect. And anyone with an iPhone, it will show their business as well. So these are different, but nothing stops you getting these different directories to register your site as well. And then that way you're a legitimate business for them. And you have external links going to you as well. So in terms of setting up an online store, you can use, there's so many different tools out there. And I've just shown a few here, like Wix, Weebly, WordPress, WooCommerce, Shopify. They're all ways that you can maintain your site and look after your website, but also your shopping too. So these are some of the tools that are out there. Again, if graphic design is not your thing, if, for instance, you don't have at least some or a little bit of programming knowledge, you're going to find a lot of these difficult to use. So keep that. You might be better off than finding a programmer or a web developer or somebody that knows these tools really well to actually help you with your business. There's payment processes that you can use. These are many of the ones that most use, like Square, Costco. So there's a lot of payment gateways that are out there as well. One-page websites that I was speaking of, when you asked about that question, one-page websites became famous, like I said, especially during the COVID times. And the Samcart is one of the biggest ones that people used. I think it was just a regular fee of like $50 a month, and you can promote one product, and everything was on that one page. So there are lots of, like I said, different sites out there. and they connect to different shipping companies. So it's all done seamlessly in one, on one website and one web presence as well. You can integrate other software into it too. So just like Samcart, you can integrate other software, and there's others out there as well. So another good thing to know is who's your audience? How do you know who's your audience? And there's ways to know your customer demographics by Google Analytics, or GA4 is what you use as a tool now. So Google Analytics, make sure if you do build your website, or at least have that Amazon store or eBay store, you can see how many views you've had. You can see how many clicks you've had. What are they going to? What is the most popular page? And you can do that by looking at GA4 or Google Analytics. And you also have that information in something called Google Search Console. If you haven't, or if you've got a website and you don't have it connected already, Google Search Console is a fantastic tool to show you what people have actually typed in a Google search and how they reached you. That's free. Yep, all of these tools that I'm going through right now, other than if you're doing the monthly eBay or Amazon, they're all free. So Google Search Console is, like I said, a fantastic tool. Used to be that this information was in Google Analytics. It's no longer in there. So that's why. And it is, sometimes if you're a programmer, you can add this in. But Google Search Console is a fantastic way to see the performance of your site, and it's specific to your site, and you can look back on certain dates as well and see what keywords people are using. There's also something called Ad Center that you can use within Facebook, and that will show you as well, like how many people you've reached, how much you've had in terms of engagement, how much it costs per engagement, as well. And so this information is really valid within Facebook, as well. Measuring your success, by using things like GA4. Insights is another good tool within Facebook. So these are all free, and it's all within, when you start advertising, it's information that you can get from Facebook and Google, and they'll give you that information as well. You can review your ad performance as well and see how much you're paying per click or per reach. For any of these, do you have more women than men? Even for me, when I was working on my blog site, about 90% were women. So I wouldn't really, so when I started advertising and paying for ads, it was better for me to pay for females to actually come into the site than it was males. So that's another thing too. So social media marketing and advertising. This is just an example site that I have actually enjoyed reading of, the Morning Glory Inn, which is Snowshoe. And she keeps it pretty well up to date, has TripAdvisor with it too. You can actually see how often she replies or how quickly, how many fans you have of that site. So these are just some good examples of some that you can use. And then her reviews are up there up front as well. And the website is pretty much similar too. So make sure too, like I said, if you don't necessarily have that web presence, make sure you do have a social media presence. Ask your customers for reviews. I know that even with the one here with the Morning Glory Inn, and there was another, there's another Airbnb as well that does the same thing. She discounts it if you do a review. So people do that. So you can discount things when people give you those reviews. Google Business Profile frowns upon that. So just so you know, Google doesn't like that. Facebook doesn't really care. You have the ability to put coupons and coupon codes in here, but Google Business Profile actually Google frowns upon it. So make sure you know some of the policies before you start working with it as well. Set goals. One of the big reasons I did so well with my blog is what was important to me was to get as many fans as possible. Why? Because once I had hundreds of thousands of fans, I didn't have to pay for them anymore. So I may have done that, and my spend was about $50 a day. when I actually started that blog site. But I got to the stage where about a year later, I wasn't spending more than 10 or 15. Why? Because I had millions of people coming to the site, and it was generating income through Google AdSense. So that's how I was able to do that. But one of the biggest reasons, and I even worked, I think someone spoke here like about the ATV. There was a business doing something to do with ATV trails. I actually worked with Hatfield McCoy Trails and taught them how to get traffic to their sites. Again, they don't need to do as much Google advertising that they used to do before. But a lot of it's as soon as you start getting as many fans as possible within your Facebook pages, or Instagram, or whatever your social media platform is, you don't need to advertise as much because they're now doing, like, it's just gone viral, and you're getting those fans. Something else to keep in mind, though, you don't have to be good at all these platforms. So you don't have to know Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. Like, you don't need to, like, be good at just a couple, like, know it well, but just a couple. So have one that you know very, very well, and then have another one that's a backup. But it doesn't mean to say that you have to know TikTok and Pinterest and everything else. Go ahead. So you should take your demographic information, but sometimes you won't get that demographic information until you've done that first, which is to just target everyone. Does that make sense? So I always, when I come in and help somebody with their Google ads or their Facebook ads, they usually tell me, customer usually says, well, this is what it usually is. These are the people that usually like my site or buy from me. And I remember having a jewelry store, and she made really, really unique jewelry. Was in her 20s and somewhere in West Virginia, but based in the north. And she had such a following in Instagram. It was in the thousands in the Instagram, and Facebook wasn't as much. But I asked her who buys her products, and her Instagrammers couldn't afford her products. The Facebook ones did. So it's not until we got into it that she realized, like, she was selling to the wrong crowd. Yes, she did, but the Instagrammers couldn't buy $250, $300, $500 worth of jewelry because the Instagrammers were too young. Like, they can't afford that. So then she started realizing her buyers were mainly from Facebook. And that's where she started doing more of her reels, more of her lives, more of her coupons, codes, and things like that. And actually took off in Facebook. And right now, her Facebook's doing better than her Instagram. So yeah, she still keeps the artsy side going, but really it was the sales were coming from Facebook. So your objective, so promote your brand, market it as much as you can. Content, no matter what, will always be king. Later this afternoon, the next session will be on content, and on web pages, basically on websites and how to do well. I'll spend some time on the content being king and why, as well. So there's some search engine optimization tools as well, that we'll go through. The user experience is always mobile. Even if you build your website and it looks great on the desktop, it has to look the best on mobile. Google is a mobile first search engine, and actually the others are going the exact same way. So you have to have your site look good on the mobile, otherwise it will be demoted. So make sure whoever builds your site, one of the first things you need, or website, you need to tell them is that it needs to look great on a mobile phone. And you need to be able to read it well. You need to be able to buy that product. And that's why the Amazons and Walmarts work so well, is because you can buy their product, and they cross-sell as well all the time. Customer support is good. make sure too, even if somebody criticizes, like you're never going to please everybody. Even if somebody does and you have a bad review, follow it up. Always write back to them and take that info, take the conversation offline. So be as cordial as you can, even if it is their fault. Reply back to them and then take that conversation offline as much as you can. But even if it's a bad review, always, if you can, write back to them. Others, there are, like I said, there's many ways to sell. It's not just your website. It's not just your social media. Try it out on other platforms. Nothing stops you from using, we are the best Italian restaurant. We are the best floral shop in the area, or florist. Nothing stops you from using those terms and being subjective that way. Or we're in the top 10 if there's so many of you. Because no one's going to assess that, and hopefully you are in that top 10. So get as many reviews as possible. And once you have that Google business profile, Mike, even for yourself, when you set up like a Google business profile, get as many reviews as possible straight away. From customers, from people that you know that have used your services. And then, like I said, you can list your products on other sites. Be mobile, because that comes first. And does anyone have any other further questions? Hopefully, timing wise, that was okay. But thank you, and thanks for those questions too.
Those on Zoom, if you all have questions, please feel free to go ahead and send those now. Otherwise, we are about to break for lunch in just a few minutes, and we will be back on in about around 10 minutes.
Thank you, and thanks for joining the earlier session. This one is basically on building a website and what needs to be on your website for it to work. So we can get started. So some of the most common problems that I found, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and add them all up there instead of going through them one by one. But some of the most common problems last year because I do with the SBDC, I do a lot of evaluations of people's websites. And these are some of the most common problems, especially when it comes to their marketing. There's no Google business profile. In fact, even recently, I think somebody that I know of, they were a orthopedic office, but they were selling not protein shakes, but those like supplements, good like supplements is what they were selling. And they sell online, they sell on Amazon, and so on, but they didn't have a Google business profile. So there was no way to know it was a legitimate business. One of the ways that you're legitimized online is through having a Google business profile. Unless you're a massive store like a Target or a Cabela's or something like that, where you don't necessarily need one. But even Cabela's has a Google business profile so but something to keep in mind is when you start your business, or at least start like the first time, even if you don't have a website, it is extremely important to have a Google business profile. That's one of the first things you must do. Other things that I found, no follow statements. So people are sending you traffic. Go ahead. That's right. That's right. So what is a Google Business Profile? That's exactly what it is. When you do a search and you see that first item pop up on the right-hand side, you've got pictures of the facility. And it actually came about, remember those Google cars that were driving through the street? Like that's where it came about, because they couldn't rely on the Yellow Pages to have all the addresses correct and the coordinates correct. So they did it themselves. And that's where Google Maps and so on came from as well. So, but yes, that's exactly what it is. You can have a Google Business because you've got a brand and you've got a presence. So you can have a Google Business Profile even if you are a food truck. Yes. You just may not show an address, for example. They will still need to legitimize you, not via a PO box, but an actual home address or an actual address that maybe your catering is done through or something like that. But then once they've you've established your business, your food truck can be shown. Yes. So no follow statements. I've come across websites where they've had 50,000 visitors, and then suddenly gone down to 5,000. And it's because the program unfortunately has left some kind of code in there that says, Google, if you find me, don't follow me, which is a detriment. So make sure too that your site is followed, not followed. And the only way you're going to know that is through programmers making sure that that's something that's been enabled or disabled on your site. Advertising follow through. Many people run ads. So they run their Facebook ads or they run Google ads. And they run these ads and there's no comment, like they don't comment. So if somebody asks what a price is and there's no answer. So make sure when you are advertising and paying money to advertise on Facebook or Google, if you've got a comment, make sure you reply to those as well, because I've seen that many, many times. Don't just run the ads. You have to look at what people have commented on. A lot of the time, the content is lacking. There's not enough words on the page. They've only got 100, maybe 150, maybe 200. Most sites that do well have about 1,000 words on that page. So on that homepage, it's as much content, and that means text and writing as possible. There's not enough internal or external links. One of the reasons Amazon, Walmart, Target, and the others have done so well online is because they sell you something and then they cross-sell, right? So if I bought this blouse and then I've got a sweater that goes along with it, and then I've got a pair of pants that go along with that, then maybe there's some jewelry that goes with it. That's all cross-selling. So it's not only you selling that blouse, but what does it look good with? What does it not go with? Like, what's the popular items people have purchased with it? So you cross-sell, and that's where the internal linking, even if that means you're internally linking within your web page, you still need to have those links. External links are where you have the endorsement through directories like Yelp, TripAdvisor, and Google Business Profile, Yellow Pages, and so many others. Another good item too that people miss out is not having a frequently asked questions. Are you transparent? Do you sell my data? What are your policies? What are your returns? That's all part of the frequently asked questions. What's the process? If you're an accountant, what's the process? How do you get my information? Do we do this online? Do we have a transaction that's completely online? Or can I meet you in person? And then no blog. So it keeps it updated. In fact, just recently I was asked to analyze a marketing website, and it was a company that had been around for about 25 years and so I was taking a look at that website, and it's doing quite well, but I was surprised that out of nowhere, this other site that's only been around for 6 months, maybe 6 months, 8 months, something like that, is doing better than the one that has been around for 20, 25 years, even though 20, 25 years counts for a lot of history, right? But it's doing well because the person on that 8-month website updating every single day, has different blogs, is updating their FAQ, adding more pictures. Anytime that person is out and about and being a speaker somewhere or doing some marketing testimonials somewhere, like, or working with a company somewhere, straight away they put it up on their website. So there's the importance of that interaction as well. And it works wonders. Okay, some of the tools. Let's go through some of the tools and resources and why SEO and how you're being found is important. And I showed this screen a little bit, but the process of SEO is basically that you're discoverable on the web, that you can be found using a keyword using search engines, and that your site actually appears close to the top of the page. And that's really what it is. In fact, the person that made it famous, J-Lo. J-Lo's really who made SEO, and especially SEO images, famous. Why? Because back in, I think it was 1999, 2000, something like that, she wore this green Versace dress. And everyone was looking for that green Versace dress that she had worn, I think, one time for the Grammys, something like that. And they couldn't find it. Even on a Google search, they couldn't find it. People were searching for it. They couldn't find images on it. They couldn't find it at all. And Google did a bad job, actually, of that Google Versace dress. So that's really what launched the whole SEO industry. Especially images, and then videos came about, and then podcasts and so on came about after that. But actually, that's who pioneered the whole part. And in fact, I think she was even asked, were you paid by Google at all? Because you pioneered Google Images and Google SEO. And nope, she wasn't paid. It's just, but that's what really took off Google search engine, is her. Page and user experience, no matter what. And this was one of their algorithms that they added back in, or at least an update that they added back in March 22. Page experience. When you go through a page of a website, when you get there, you know exactly what somebody does. You know what their tagline is. You know their brand, or at least have an idea of what their branding is. You know that the colors go along with the site, and that it's very easy to navigate, and it's very, very easy to use. Nobody, just like if you think back to it, the TikTokers in this room or the Facebook, nobody taught you how to use Facebook. It was pretty self-intuitive, right? It's the same when it comes to the website and the web. It has to be intuitive, and that's the reason certain things take off versus others. Here's some of Google's past updates. They had something called a Panda update, which was do you offer high quality content right there up front. Penguin, that was back in 2012. And that's improving the quality of the user experience, that you're not constantly just stuffing tons of keywords on the page and links, and that you've got good quality keywords and good quality links on that page. Hummingbird was in 2013, and that is that so Google wants to better understand the user's intent. And remember, Mike, you said with AI, right? AI is getting to the point where you are perfecting the machine. So right now, every time I do a Google search, every time you do a search, you're perfecting it because what Google's going to suggest to you or provide is everything you're looking for. And they're getting better and better and better using AI because it's a personalized experience, right? So, and really, they don't need to have these researchers anymore. AI is doing it for you. There's the Pigeon update back in 2014. That was location-specific content. Mobile became big from 2015, so the past 10 years, that's when mobile took off. And that pages are ranked to be mobile friendly, and they rank closer to the top. And then others that have come later on are payday, so you don't have spam constantly throughout the site. You don't have pop-ups that keep coming up. You have piracy issues and things like that. So there are other updates that came later on. And then top heavy, meaning ad heavy content as well. So why is it important that people find you organically when you do a search? One of the biggest reasons is, and this is just some data that one of the clients I've worked with that I picked up, but you can see if you take a look at that top one where it says organic search, most people stay on if they've organically found you, they will stay on that site a lot longer than any other way. So if they found you through search engines, for the most part, and you can see, for example, this site, someone stays there 5 minutes, 45 seconds, versus even direct where they know of you, it's 4 minutes. Referral sites, 4 minutes too. So that's one of the biggest reasons SEO and search engine optimization is really important, is because you stay on that. If you go through a Google search and you find that site and it's everything you're looking for, they will stay on that site a lot longer than some ad or a referral or through social media or any other way. So that's why it's extremely important. And people say too, it's like, well, we're in 2025. Has SEO gone away? It hasn't. It's more important than ever right now. And content is king. And it'll stay that way for a long time. So there's 4 key stages or steps that I'll go through on keeping that website updated and what you should look out for. So there's 4 areas of SEO. There's the technical side, which is more sitemap, making sure that you have a sitemap, that the speed of your site, that it loads pretty quickly. Most people take photos on an iPhone, and then just download it and put it on your website. It doesn't work that way. You have to optimize it for the web. You have to make sure that it fits into whatever profile that you need to fit that photo into. So make sure too that you're optimizing your pictures for the web, and also your videos as well. Your content, that what you have on the page is actually really important, that you're not like giving away the information at the bottom, you're there at the top. So if you want to know, for example, the best ingredients that you put into a pasta dish or a tomato-based pasta dish, like what are write it on the top. You don't have to go all the way to, people shouldn't be, I think our attention spans have gone so much shorter that give away that information right there on the top. If somebody's looking for the price of something, have it at the top. Don't have it all the way at the bottom. You'll lose them. Keywords, headers, titles, FAQ, that's all part of your content. Any links? What associations are you part of? Maybe they have a lot more visitors than you have. Make sure you link to them, and hopefully they will link back to you. And that's how you're able to get some authority as well. And then make sure whatever you do, you share, whatever your, if you've won awards, if you've got new companies, for example, when you launch your business, for example, and you've had a ribbon cutting or something like that, you put it on as many sites as possible. You have it access from other sites to yours as well. So technical SEO. So it basically includes the speed, how quickly your site loads. Is it mobile, and is there a site map as well? There are sites like web.dev, web.dev, that actually tell you some of these things as well. They're free sites. You go to it, you can put your website up there, and it shows you what's missing, what's not. What technical issues do you have? What's the speed of your site? How quickly does it load? Do you have a photo that's too big for that page? So there are some free sites that are there that will help you. There's also different website builders that you can use: Wix, Squarespace, Weebly, GoDaddy, WordPress. Many of them are different, like I said, website builders as well. How fast does your site load? Again, you can look at that web.dev to make sure, but it's important. If you've got sites that load and take 10 seconds, I mean, right now, what do you think, how quickly do you think a site should load? What do you think it is now? Pretty much, it's within a second. So you remember, used to take 10 and we were fine with that, where it used to load down the page. And yeah, like you saw that, the wheel still going around. You can't do that now. The site needs to load quick. So it's important as well. You make sure you index your website. So basically, people ask me too, it's like, how does Google find you? It's like, once you put this site out on the World Wide Web, and it's actually within 2 to 3 days, Google will find your website. You don't have to submit it. You don't have to do anything to it. Your site will be found by Google. And basically, it's done through what they call a web crawler or a spider. Spider comes across your website, crawls through it. If you have a sitemap, great. That's one of the biggest things. It's like, great, I have a sitemap. I know what pages are on this site, just like an index. I know what pages are on it. And once it's found that sitemap, it tracks all those different content pages that are in there, indexes those, and then it can be on its way. And it just reports back. And that's how that crawler works. Indexes it and then provides it to the search algorithm. So that's really how it works. If you don't have a sitemap, then that crawler goes round and round in circles to try and find out what your site is about. And then they'll come up with their own ideas as to what your site is about. They'll come up with their own competitors to who your competitor is, for example. So that's why, again, it's extremely important to have a sitemap. It's not the web designer, it would be a programmer that would actually do that for them. But if it's a web company and that's who's building it, then yes. Yep. So, and usually within, if you're a WordPress and a Wix site, you actually can have plugins that can create that for you, or a sitemap for you. So yeah. What is and what is not crawled. You can actually see via what you call, like at the end of your website, you can actually put in the words / like robots.txt, and you can see when the last time a Google bot actually visited your site. But that's a way to find that out. And so you type in your website.com / robots.txt, and that's a way to find out when's the last time, like I said, that Google bot visited your site. So there's tools out there that are free for you to find out when was the last time your site was indexed. So the sitemap test, if your site does or does not have a sitemap, again, you can type in your website.com and then / sitemap.xml. If it comes out with a load of pages and gives you that information, otherwise it'll be null and it'll say 0. So that's how you know too if you have a sitemap or not. And then this is what it will look like as well if you do have a sitemap. And it will tell you like when was the last time that you modified it as well. Google Search Console, again, a free site, something that you can sign up for once you have your website. And this is how you put in the information or the verification code to actually make sure that the Google Search Console is working correctly. And then these are your keywords or key phrases, for example, that you can see as well. If it's mobile friendly, you can actually, there's tools out there for you to see that as well. The web.dev, that tells you the same thing, whether it's a mobile friendly site and how well, and in fact, It has one version on desktop and one version on mobile, and you can take a look at both. There's others that are important, like Americans ADA compliancy. There's sites called like Accessibility to see if your site is ADA compliant. You've got what we call structured markup language, or JSON, for example. So if you are custom building your website through a programmer, they will use tools like the structured markup language, and it will show, for example, the site that I've got on the right-hand side, so those recipes and so on. So it's different. So it's different items. So it's the font size. It's the fact that the background color and the front doesn't clash. So you've got, so mainly it's to do with the fact that you've got a white background with black writing on it. So you can actually, that way it's legible. And most people with certain disabilities, like for instance, it reads out. So if I can't see, but I'm using a different kind of browser, it will read out to me the content of the site. And that's what makes it ADA compliant. So it reads it out through their browser, but also whenever you have a photo, it tells you what that photo is, and it's got a caption underneath. So make sure your photos have captions. So there's various tools, but you can go to a site called Accessibility to see if if it's ADA compliant, and it will give you a result as well, and let you know too what's missing. But things like that are important for it as well. I know too, I was looking at a site, and of course it wasn't compliant. It was yellow writing on a white background. It's not easy to read. And somebody that's difficult in their site can't read it. So, but it will point things like that out and let you know. Content, what should you write about? So don't, and I always say, don't reinvent the wheel. If there's a competitor site, if you're looking to do something and there's a great competitor that's out there, and he or she may be worldwide, or it's somebody you want to be, take a look at their site. What are they doing? How are they getting their traffic? Nothing stops you from mimicking what they have or doing something similar to them. Make sure you answer some of these questions too. What's your mission? What is it that you do? What's the values that you have? And what are some of the unique selling points as well? Go ahead. I think, so you may have off days, for example. So maybe your food truck is running for 5 days a week, and then you have those couple days. What I would do is not only post every day, like where you'll be, for example, on those off days, it may be your popular recipes. Does that make sense? Or something, or maybe there's something you make that's a really like fantastic taco, whatever it is, or a sauce that everyone loves. It's like, wow, I just love this sauce of yours. Nothing like, give some of that info away, and they'll keep coming to your site because they're getting some information and they're like, wow, I want to make this at home, or I know what that sauce is. And now and then when you've got good ingredients, does that make sense? People will come back to you because you're using real ingredients whenever you're putting something together. Yes. As a subject matter expert. Correct. Yes. And that's how you would do it. So you do it through your recipes. Does that make sense? Or if you find another good one in somebody else's site, Martha Stewart's, doesn't matter what it is. Nothing stops you from using other people's content as a post either. And then saying too that you've changed it a little bit because you like it hotter or spicier, or adding different types of peppers, so, so, but like you said, Jim, to establish yourself, you've got to get that authority. Like, people trust you to make the good. So, and then you're also letting people know that you're using these real ingredients, and it's not just from a can. So, but I hope that answers your question. Some of the pages that you should have on your website. So there's the home, about us, product services, FAQ, a product search, any types of terms and conditions, and you've got testimonials or reviews, or contact us. I always say have your phone number or information right there on the top of the page. Blogs or news, any type of privacy policy is an adamant, it's a must for Google. You've got to have a privacy policy on there. Are you selling people's data? That type of thing, it needs to be on there. That needs to be transparent. Your returns or your cancellations, what you do about those. And then, of course, making sure you have great photography and any type of security behind the site that you have as well. How's my privacy protected? How's your personal data collected? Do you save people's data via cookies, for example? How do you share personal information? How long is the data stored? How long is their personal information stored? How many times have you gone to even take a look at TripAdvisor, for example, and I want to go to Savannah, South Carolina, example, and you take a look and then suddenly you get bombarded by emails, don't you? Suddenly from that TripAdvisor or hotels.com. That's because it's got a web beacon and you've accepted their policy or their cookies. And now they're able to, once you've accepted it, it's got everything behind that. And that's why they're able to send you that information. What's that? So cookies is like, so when when you go to a website, it may take a little bit of time to open it. And then the next time you go to it, it saves a local version of that website on your system. It's a memory, yeah. So that's how it does it. And so what's that? Most of the time it's a good thing, especially if it's a site that you visited a lot or you visit a lot. Yes. If it's a site you visit often, you can accept it. If it's one not so much, would you go with that too? Yeah. You go to the settings and check, so yeah. But I think if it's a site you visit often, you can accept it. Yeah. So that way it loads, yeah, quicker as well. ADA compliance, so make sure your content, your text, your links, media files, all of that is legible and readable. The design of your buttons are important too. The colors, the contrast, the fonts, they all go together. Like I said, yellow writing on a white, it's not legible. Even for us, it's difficult. Never mind somebody that has a difficult time visually. So like I said, and there's sites out there that will give you a grade based on that. The future of website marketing is AI based. It's generative. It's really coming along, and you're, like I said, perfecting the machine, and personalizing it more for yourself. Google still has, like, they will send you to sites or basically give you the top results if you have expertise, if you have authority, and your trust. It's based on trust. So it's still those, and it's EAT. They still work with that philosophy. Google sends you to sites that have expertise, that have authority, and that have trust. And then make sure too that a lot of your content is conversational. It's to your audience. It doesn't read like a journal, for example. So make sure that's the case as well. So there's different types of websites. There's informational, navigational, transactional ones. Navigational ones, like maybe for a bank, for example. Informational, like an entertainment site. That's what my blog was an entertainment or informational site. And then you've got transactional ones, which are like product-based or service-based as well. The domain name, a lot of people don't think that it matters what the name of your site is. It does matter. It's important to have a good site that actually, if you're a photography company, have it as photography. If you're an SEO company, have it in your title and your name. Just like Nike at one time, they were Nike shoes. They weren't just Nike. They bought both domain names, and then they can drop the shoes. And actually, I'm sure they've still kept it. But so to a great extent, whatever you do or provide, have it as much as you can in the domain name. Register your site for 3 to 5 years rather than just a year, because then it's a fly-by-night company versus something that's going to stick around for a little bit longer as well. Have a .com site. Nothing stops you and have a canonical, which basically means nothing stops you having shoes.com, footwear.com, all these other sites, and then point it to the one shoe brand. Or the one, so that's what that basically means. So I think at one point it was frowned upon, but Google's in the business of domain names now. So it doesn't matter how many domain names you have. And try and most of the time get a .com site. If only a .net is available or a .wv or a something else, most people don't know. They're going to remember you by a .com, and that's what they're going to look for. So if it's not available, try and find something that is, and stick with it. How often should you update your website? How often do you think? Yeah, as often as you can. And that doesn't mean necessarily always your website, but your Facebook. Like, do something at least every day. If you can, update something. Because as interactive as you can be, that's what creates the engagement that Google provides you, or the search engines will provide you. Mm-hmm. However you've set it up, sometimes it could message you via phone, and then you can. You get an email alert. You'll get an email, and then you'll reply back to that email and have a button there. Mm-hmm. That's because they haven't replied. That's why. But yeah, usually that's the case. If you see the questions, they haven't gone into their email to reply, and then clicked on the button to actually reply back, and then make sure you publish it so that you can see the reply. And you may have come across some sites where it's like, suggest an edit or own this business. If you come across that, it's because they haven't claimed their profile. And so usually what I do is, like, especially if I'm working with that client, I'll phone them and say, you haven't claimed your profile. You need to claim your profile. Otherwise, anyone can claim it. It's very difficult to get it back. You're at their mercy. And and unfortunately right now with Google Business Profile, Google doesn't have many real people taking care of Google Business Profile. It's all AI based or robot based. And so it's very difficult to get that back. Not much that you can do. So that's why if you do see where it says own this business and you click on it and it automatically says, well, Roxy, you can own this, have this account now. Is this you? I can claim yes and just take over. That person will not. So, but if you do see that and you know it's a legitimate business, make sure that whoever that person is can take over. They're not. No, I don't think so. It'll suddenly just be attached to you. If you have a Gmail account, it'll just be attached to that. You can. So, oh, do you need me to?
Yeah.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
So the question was, I sell real estate. I may or may not stick with my current company. So should my domain be my name and function? If so, could I link myself to my real estate company somehow?
Yes, you can later. So if I was Roxy Turner with Family First Realty as an example, then yes, I make sure you get that domain, which is the roxyturner.com or roxyturnerrealty.realtor.com, something like that. But then whenever I join Family First or join another real estate company, nothing stops me having that domain name as well. So that way I've got my primary and then I've got that one as well. So, but I hope that answers it. Okay, so this is an example of how you set up your web pages. So you'd have your home page, which has basically your home page is a catch-all. It takes all keywords are shown usually on that home page because you have all these interlinking pages in there as well. So if, for instance, I was a company selling high quality teas, you would have that on the home page. But then as you go deeper, you might be selling green teas, red teas, black teas, herbal teas. And then each one of these can have its own health benefits for the black tea, the green tea, and so on. So this is how you structure your pages. So like I said, the home page has the catch-all, and then you have these teas that you're selling. And then once you click on a green tea, now you're going into what's benefit of the green tea. Should you have it should you drink a cup at night? Should you not? Does it have caffeine in it? This is where you can get very, very detailed, especially if that's what you're selling. And then you'll see on the right-hand side, I've got a generic on if you're selling, for instance, bed sheets, you can call it like we sell high quality, high thread bed sheet, high thread count bed sheets. Where do you sell it? I'm selling it in Charleston, West Virginia. So you can actually say what the thread count is, and then what is it about those bed sheets that give you this great quality sleep. So that's how you structure your pages. You've got the catch-all on the home page, so it's almost like a Christmas tree. And then you've got the details right there on the bottom of those pages. When you get into the detail pages, that's when you'll detail your, like for instance, yourself, your services, you'll detail them. But on the home page, you'll let people know everything that you do. Finding the right keywords. Just remember, there's no such thing as a perfect keyword. There's many. And we've got to the stage here too, where you see on the bottom right, it says red sweaters versus soft red wool sweater for sale. It's become to the point now that because a lot of people now talk to their phone, and it's a talk to text type thing. You're not necessarily typing it. It's about 7 words. So a keyword is about the equivalent right now of about 7 words. Nothing stops you from researching your competitor sites as well. And that's how one way of getting good customers. And then you also want to rank for hundreds of keywords, not just one. So you look for alternatives. Like for instance, when I was working with an IT company, am I better known as an IT company or an IT software company or a web programming software company or an internet-based company? So all of those keywords, nothing stops you writing any of them because a lot of different customers are going to write in a different set of keywords to try and find you. This is Google Suggest. So you can see where the drop down is. Like if I was looking for lodging in Man, West Virginia, I can also see what else is popular. Not only is it lodging Man, West Virginia, people are looking for Trails Inn. So there's a popular destination people are looking for. Hatfield McCoy Trails, hotels in Logan, Matewan, ATV lodging, Gilbert was so you can actually, so that's a good way to actually see what other things are popular as well. It's a good way to type in blogs, for example, too. This is a SERP page or SERP, search engine results page. We've all seen them. Your keywords are at the top. Your page title is in blue. Your description is there in black. And so page title is a meta title, and the page description is the actual description. It's not what's written on the page. It's done behind the scenes. And that's when you can put in as many keywords and key phrases as possible there. And then your URL is shown in blue. You can also have what would they call featured snippets. Google picks them out because you featured it. It's a programmer element that you can use as well. And if you've got great blogs, Google's going to pick out some of these snippets for you and actually put it together with a photo. And it will automatically do that for you as well. And then you can see at the bottom, people also ask, is it healthy to drink tea? What tea is healthiest? What are some of the cons of drinking tea? What are some of the pros of drinking tea? So these give you and they give you ideas for blogs that you can write about or have a frequently asked question on as well. And then right at the bottom of the page, you have related keywords. So what else are people searching for? And this allows you to cross-sell other things. There's a tool called Google Keyword Planner. Again, it's a free tool. You can type it in and basically set up a Google Ads account. And you can do a search for keywords. And this right here, like if I was searching for ATV, if I was working, like I said, with Hatfield-McCoy Trails, ATV riding trails, West Virginia accommodations, or if I was doing an Airbnb, what is it people are searching for? And you can see that through Google Keyword Planner. Reddit is another good way to find out what people are searching for. It tells you it's pertinent to today, and you can do some research on Reddit or Quora. Quorum is another one as well. And that way you can find out like what topics are pertinent today. So where do you place your keywords? Where do I use them? You'd put them in the title and the description of that page. You'd put them in the headings, your body copy, any alternate tags or anything with a photo. You can also add it to your file name, and then you can have it in linking names as well. So certain key phrases you can actually, or keywords, you can actually put in those areas. And it's important using it in those areas as well. So this is just an example. If I was a lodge at the ATV trails, my title might be something like affordable cabins or lodging at the Hatfield-McCoy Trails in downtown Man. And then the description is Roxy's Lodge provides the best lodging in the heart of Hatfield-McCoy Trails. And then which trailhead is right there. It's great value. It's got a pool, cabins, and so on. So that's just an example of how you do a product description and also a title. In terms of copywriting, nothing stops you from using, we're the best Italian restaurant. We are named like the best in 2025 for the following. We're in the top 10. Check out our reviews. Nothing stops you from using some of those modifiers right there. So make sure you come across as the expert. People will trust you and your site if you have the ability to show it. And the way you do that is you're going to be an expert of whatever you provide. So an expert of AI, expert in your floral arrangements, expert of your food trucks, and some of the, not only the food trucks, but the food that you provide within that food truck as well. So provide the most useful content upfront. It needs to be user-friendly, your site. Make the answers and solutions very easy to find. Keep your site and your visitors engaged. Good photography. Like I said, if you're a restaurant, have a photographer come in, take those pictures first. You may sell other things later or have other menu items. You don't necessarily need a photo, but your top selling items, it's good to have a photographer come in for those. And then, of course, like I said, good photography, good videos, and then advertising your brand. Directories and building links. So that's the third item there. These are web directories that you can be free, that are free and that you can be a part of. Google Business Profile being one, Yelp, Yahoo, TripAdvisor. There's just so many. White Pages, Yellow Pages, Apple Business Connect is another one. So any of those will work. And I think there's so many out there. You can actually just type in free web directories to link to. Just make sure everything you write in them is consistent. So however you put in your phone number, use the same one. The web address that you link to, use the same one. How you put in your address, if you use the 5-digit for your zip, do you use the additional 4 or not? So things like that, just make sure it's as consistent as possible. And this is the type of information that directories look for. What's the title of your business, contact, if you have an ABN, hours of operation, your business logo. And so that's the type of information like that they're looking for as well on those directories. This is Google Business Profile. This is what it actually looks like. You can see too, I've used this example where it doesn't necessarily show the address, but it says that, hey, I take online appointments, I close at whatever time, this is my phone number. And then of course there's links underneath of that. And then social media marketing. There's tons of them out there. And remember, like I said earlier, you don't have to use all of them. There's things like Hootsuite, Buffer, that allows you to schedule any of your posts. If you want to do all of them on one day, I've got friends that just do everything on a Sunday, and then it just posts periodically through the week. You can use things like Hootsuite or Buffer to schedule those posts, but you don't have to. If you wanted to, like I said, it's like I blogged every day. I didn't need to do a post that one day. Because every day would be different on that entertainment site, for example. And then you can make things seasonal as well. So even if I am an Italian restaurant, maybe I'm doing something on, with the Irish, for example, making a fusion mix. So nothing stops you from doing that. But you don't have to be, like I said, an expert on all these different platforms. Just use one main one and then have a backup of another. Go ahead.
So they just asked, so that the business suite is not recommended. That's just all they said.
The business suite. Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah, which is not a bad thing. Yeah. So yes, it's good. Not that you wouldn't use it. Okay. All right. Yeah, I would say definitely use it, because if it allows you to post on other platforms, you definitely want to go for it. That way you don't have to repeat and keep doing it. There's tools out there like Insights, tells you a little bit about your blog, how many likes, how many shares, how many loved it, how popular was it, popular times a day, but also popular days to post on as well. And then your average engagement. I mean, do you get more engagement with your photos? Do you get it more with your videos? What do you get more engagement with? And Facebook Insights provides that information as well. And then you can review your ad performance to see how it's doing. Outsourcing your SEO. People pay for it. People pay for SEO outsourcing. Just be careful when you do pay for it, because they may use techniques that Google doesn't necessarily like, and it can get your site suspended or demoted. So be careful of some of those as well. Right now, I think Google Business Profile is going through a lot of changes. Even updating your address or changing your address can get you suspended. So be careful. So whenever you make changes to a Google Business Profile, don't make too many, and don't make too many at once. Because like I said, it's being looked after by bots and AI. They don't have dedicated staff to it that I've come across. And in fact, even when I've been on phone calls with, especially with Google Ads and people using Google Ads and their employees from Google Ads, they can't get anyone on the Google Business Profile to even answer a question. So the best thing that I would suggest is that whenever you're making changes to your Google Business Profile, try not do everything at once, because they will bring that site down. You won't see it for a few days until they okay it, and then it'll bring it back up. So make sure you do it on a day that it's not needed, so it's not going to be busy. Okay? So maybe during the holidays when you're closed, something like that. But try not to make too many changes. It's just like anything, unfortunately. Even when you run ads, you've got to keep it going for a little while. Don't change things all the time. So outsourcing, if you do decide to do that, you can see that if you decide to outsource it, you can get their assistance. Not necessarily always expert assistance, but for the most part it is. It can be time consuming because you're on the phone with them a lot. They're seeing what trends you have. They will provide you a monthly report, and it can be very, very expensive. So be careful when outsourcing. I don't personally recommend outsourcing your SEO or your ads to a third party. It can be very costly, and you get very, very little results. When you do your own, you control your site, you save money. Yes, it's a steep learning curve, but it's there. I mean, it's there. It's a way to get better at everything that you just like my blog. I may not have been the best blogger when I wrote that first one that took me hours to write, but by the end of that 6 months, I was the best blogger out there with those 5 articles that I could produce in an hour. Does that make sense? So it takes a while to learn that, but if that's your business and you're passionate about it, you need to spend the time to do that. And then you might need programmer assistance as well. So who are your customers? Like I said, you can learn that from Google Analytics or GA4. You can take a look at your customer demographics as well within GA4. You can take a look at Google Search Console to see what keywords are doing well, what aren't as well. Google Trends is another one. Google Keyword Planner is another tool that you can use. Insights and Analytics, like I said, is another tool. And there's also loads of how-to videos out there as well. A lot of people use something called Udemy. Do you use that too? So they're good lessons. You can. Yeah. Yep. So there's a lot that's out there, and they're really good, and you have personal connections with them too. So some of the trainers that train on that, you can actually go back and forth once you bought their programs. So it's a really good tool as well. And there's, like I said, others out there that you can learn how to sell online via Amazon, do FBA, which is fulfillment by Amazon, and so much more. Just remember, for 2025, mobile is the best way. 60% of us or more sell or buy online. Like I said, Google is a mobile first index search engine. Responsive design, making sure that it's responsive on that mobile phone. Your site speed, the legibility is there, and that it's improved for user experience, especially because you don't want what's on the desktop to be on your mobile and you can't read it, or you can't touch the buttons on it as well. So best web practices: consider your visitor first. Make sure it's user friendly and intuitive, and user experience is there. Provide the most useful content there at the top of the page. Educate your customers so that they know what to look for. And then provide good visuals, your photos and videos as well. And the magic is, right, engaging, meaningful content on an optimized platform, and make good friends along the way. Just make sure too that whoever you link to or they link to you, they look after their website, because if they're not, if they're seen as a spammy site, they can demote you. So make sure you do that as well. Thank you very much. Thanks.